watching Numbskull News, and today we're going to get back into the Big 12 versus ACC TV ratings, but this time postseason TV ratings. So let's go. First, we're going to start with the non-playoff bowl games, and we're going to work our way through the conference title game and the CFP games, all the viewership, Big 12 versus ACC. So first off, the Alamo Bowl. 8 million views for BYU versus Colorado Buffaloes. Now, this is where it gets a little weird, because the top bowl game for the ACC was 6.8 million viewers who watched the Pop-Tarts Bowl, Iowa State versus Miami. So, really that also belongs to the Big 12, not just the ACC. So, what do we compare it to? Well, their next biggest one, which is insane, y'all. This is insane. The Gator Bowl. Duke versus Ole Miss was 5 million viewers. How in the hell is that game? How do they get 5 million for that crap? Anyway, they do. So, our second best bowl game was that Pop-Tarts Bowl. ACC, that's their number one game. What we got to do is the third place, essentially, for the Big 12 was Baylor versus LSU. And that will trump the Pinstripe Bowl, which was Boston College versus Nebraska with 4.1 million. The next one down the list is the Liberty Bowl, Tech versus Arkansas. And that beat the Birmingham Bowl. Insane. Birmingham Bowl. Georgia Tech versus Vanderbilt. Again, 4.1 million viewers. Man, that cannot be Vanderbilt's doing. That's Georgia Tech numbers right there. When it comes to realignment, really got to consider Georgia Tech really hard if you're a Big 12 fan. Next up is the Cactus Bowl. Kansas State versus Rutgers, 3.5 million viewers. Again, that's a lot of viewers with Rutgers. And K-State, usually isn't a huge draw. But that's kind of turned around. K-State had a damn good regular season. They had over a million viewers on average per week. That particular bowl, that beat out the Mayo Bowl, Virginia Tech versus Minnesota with 3.38 million viewers. And after that, the Big 12 only has 2 more bowls, and it kind of drops off. The New Mexico Bowl, TCU versus the Raging Cajuns, 1.22 million viewers. Look, there's not a lot of people watching that. It's cool it got 1.22 million views, but that's because of TCU. And then there was the Frisco Bowl, West Virginia versus Memphis with 1.2 million viewers, which, again, that's not bad considering you're going against the G5. And that's where the ACC makes up some ground. They had the Holiday Bowl with Syracuse versus Washington State with 2.93 million viewers. And whatever the hell the Game Above Sports Bowl is, Pittsburgh versus Toledo, 2.6 million viewers. That's insane to me. Pittsburgh versus Toledo drew that. Okay. Then you have the Fenway Bowl, which got 2.1 million viewers. UNC versus UConn. The LA Bowl, Cal versus UNLV, 1.48 million. And the only last one we have numbers for is the Military Bowl with NC State versus ECU, 886,000 viewers. Now the Sun Bowl, which was Louisville versus Washington, I'm estimating somewhere between 2 and 3 million. It's got to be that, considering the rest of the numbers there. But I could not find any numbers for the Sun Bowl. But the ACC had a lot more bowl games. And consider you had 2 Big 12 teams facing off in the Alamo Bowl, which cut out an extra bowl game for the Big 12. But if you look at it, 29.12 million viewers in total for playoff bowl games for the Big 12 is pretty damn nice, considering you really only got 7 bowl games out of this whole deal. And with the ACC, there was 11 bowl games. Of course, like I said, there's one we don't have any numbers for, and they ended up with 33.376 million viewers for that run, which is really, really good. Now, if you add in Louisville versus Washington, 2 to 3 million, then you're looking around 36, 37 million viewers total. That is pretty damn good stuff. So overall, just to be fair, the ACC does beat the Big 12. But that's not all the numbers. Let's go to the conference title games. Arizona State versus Iowa State drew 6.9 million. Clemson versus SMU, 5.98 million viewers. So you're telling me the Big 12 got 1 million more viewers for their conference title game? Because with Clemson, if they lose, they don't go to the playoffs. It's a win to get in situation. Arizona State, Iowa State, it was kind of the same thing. But you're talking about a blue blood here in Clemson, and they get beat. They get beat. You need to start rethinking the Big 12. I'm sorry, our viewership usually is just better. Now, up here, the ACC beat the Big 12 in overall viewership, but they were in a hell of a lot more bowl games. They had a lot more bowl-eligible teams than the Big 12. I think the ACC had 13, and the Big 12 had 9. So that's 4 more teams that the ACC had gotten bowl-eligible, if not in the playoffs. So, look, they beat us there. I cannot deny it. But that's the way they did do it. Now, here's something interesting. Arizona State versus Texas in that quarterfinal matchup. Second week, 17.3 million viewers. It was the second most watched game that week as far as the playoffs were concerned. The second highest rated CFP game to that point. And I believe that's still only about 5 million less than the national title game. So that was an immense number and definitely the most exciting game of the entire CFP this year. Now, let's talk about the 2 first-round games the ACC was in. They lost both, but they were in them. Clemson versus Texas, 8.9 million. Look at the discrepancy. Arizona State versus Texas, and then Clemson versus Texas. Now, you can tell me, well, all the second-round games got just way bigger ratings. You mean to tell me Clemson versus Texas couldn't draw more than 8.9 million? That's just weird. Anyway, SMU versus Penn State, 6.6 million viewers. Grand total of 15.5 million viewers. Total for 2 games. Arizona State beats them with 1. Now, overall, the Big 12, 53.32 million viewers for the postseason. The ACC, 54.856 million viewers. You're talking roughly a little more than 1 million viewers than the Big 12 got, with a ton more bowl games than the Big 12 had. Albeit, there's no numbers for the Sun Bowl. No numbers. But if you want to, like I said, you want to add 2 or 3 million to this total, that's still, look, let's say you go 57, 58 million viewers total overall. You're talking 4 or 5 million more views than the Big 12 got. With essentially what? 4 less bowl games? That's insane. That's insane. What does this tell you, folks? Because just on the what we have here, our top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bowl games beats their top 5. What that tells you is the ACC has to have a hell of a lot more representation in bowl season to be able to beat the Big 12. So the Big 12 wins the regular season. They get more viewership during the CFP. They get our conference game gets 1 million more viewers. The only way the ACC beats us is because they have a lot more representation in bowl season. The ACC, they got us in the overall viewership of the postseason. But at this point, I mean, that should be a 10 to 15 million viewership lead with that many more bowl games. But it wasn't. It wasn't. Think about it. Let's just think about this logically. Because BYU and the Buffaloes, that's our two big guys as far as the ratings go. BYU's a damn good ratings draw, is all I'm trying to say. And Colorado, of course, far and away is our biggest ratings draw. But I'm looking around and seeing, Duke versus Ole Miss. You think the Gator Bowl would rather have Duke or rather have Colorado? Or you know what? Let's not even give them Colorado. Would they rather have Duke or BYU? I would think they would rather have BYU. Now, if Duke versus Ole Miss is getting you 5 million, could BYU versus Ole Miss, can that get you, I don't know, 7? I think that would get you 2 million more views. Boston College versus Nebraska. Look, I know Colorado and Nebraska have went at it for a while, but you don't think in last 2 seasons to see them play in a bowl game? Colorado, Nebraska, one more time in the Pinstripe Bowl? Now that with Boston College, that got 4.1 million viewers. Folks, Colorado versus Nebraska in the Pinstripe Bowl, 8 to 10 million viewers easy. Easy. All I'm saying is, if that happens, if they split up BYU and Colorado and have them play, pretty nice opponents, not even elite guys. I'm not saying have one of them play Michigan and one of them play Alabama. I'm talking about Nebraska and Ole Miss. If that happened, this number would dwarf that number. Okay, let's be fair. Not dwarf. But essentially we would beat them if not for the Alamo Bowl being BYU versus the Buffaloes. That's all I'm saying. So, ACC, nice little win, but the Big 12 kind of did get screwed here. They just did. Now, got to give ACC credit. Like I said, they got 4 more teams in than we did. 4 more teams were bowl eligible in the ACC than in the Big 12. So the Big 12 does need to step it up in that regard. So like I said, the ACC does win the day. All right. On a few technicalities, I'm sorry. Did you see 2 ACCs playing a bowl game against each other? You didn't see that, did you? No. Why did it happen with the Alamo Bowl? I don't know. Like I said, I think if you put BYU against Ole Miss and you put Colorado versus Nebraska, or you can just flip those, then I think we win the day. And that should tell you everything you need to know. Because these numbers for these bowl games, for the playoff games, you can't give excuses like you could for the regular season. Oh, we had teams playing on the ACC network. That's why our numbers were down. It's not the case for the conference title game. Why does Arizona State versus Iowa State? Why is that being watched by 1 million more people than Clemson versus SMU? Oh, I know. Because SMU drug it down. SMU is from the 4th largest market in the country, Dallas-Fort Worth. And that's Clemson. That's a blue blood. Arizona State isn't a blue blood. Iowa State isn't a blue blood. They don't get quite the viewership numbers on a regular basis that Clemson does. They don't get the attention from big national journalists or ESPN or anyone else that Clemson does. And yet they outdrew Clemson in viewership. Even though I have to declare the ACC the winner. It's a technicality. Now look, I know I don't have numbers for the Sun Bowl. That could be 2, 3 million. Hell, it could be 4 million for all I know. But the BYU versus Colorado game kind of screwed the Big 12. If not for that, with 4 less teams participating in bowl season, the Big 12 would have beat you again. Would have beat you again. So, ACC gets the win with an asterisk. Sorry. Call me a homer if you will, but you damn well know it's true. You damn well know it's true. BYU, Colorado playing 2 other opponents. Now that I've talked about all that, there has been news out there of the Big Ten and the SEC, of course, doing their little get-together, their little partnership. They can start scheduling non-conference games with each other. Now, and by the way, they can start playing bowl games with each other. There's been a lot of talk about that, SEC Big Ten bowl games. I want to direct you to Iowa State versus Miami, 6.8 million viewers. That's pretty damn nice. The Big 12 and the ACC, there needs to be some sort of partnership moving forward with private equity or without it. I prefer it with, but whatever. Scheduling needs to be key on that. Non-conference and bowl games. All right. Let the SEC and the Big Ten play their little games. We need to play our own. The Big 12 and the ACC need to team up in some of. There's some nice viewership numbers for both conferences. Now, I understand if one conference like the Big 12 this year came up a little short, there's not an equal number of teams. That's when you draw from the best possible G5s to fill out the rest of the spots. But there's too good of matchups. You know, as I said, that Iowa State-Miami matchup, there's a lot more of those which can get you bigger and bigger ratings. We got to work with each other here. That's what I took away from it. We got to work with each other. Anyway, thanks for watching this crap. I'll be back with some more crap later. Bye.